back in your life on this Sunday, June 8th, 2025. Hello again, everyone. I sure hope you're doing well. Welcome to our UFC 316 post show. Shout out to the boys. Tremendous watch party. A tremendous night in Brick City. Once again, the UFC back in New Jersey. It has become a staple around this time of the year. June, May, another sellout for them. And you know, it occurred to me while watching the main event walkouts, I didn't think of this all week. I didn't think of this in the build-up, that this was the same building, the same city, same location where Merab stole Suga's jacket like 2 years ago. Yeah, May of 23. 2 years later, they meet second time in the cage. This time, it's not Merab challenging Suga for his belt. It's Merab defending his title, and he did just that. This time, a little different than the performance back in September. This time, he successfully submits Sugar Sean O'Malley. Just the second submission of his illustrious career, his 13th straight UFC victory. He wins via north-south choke in the third round with just a few seconds remaining. I was just about to tweet. I had it 30-27 for Merab up until that point, but then he scores the submission, and it was a dominant performance. But really, like, you hear 30-27, you hear the choke, you hear Merab wins. It doesn't really tell the story of the fight because Suga's takedown defense improved dramatically. He stuffed at least more than six. The final stats are still being tallied, but he was a much more well-rounded fighter than the one that we saw back in September at the Sphere. But in the end, once again, Merab's pace, just unbelievable. His grappling, he fought for all those takedowns, and if he didn't succeed once, twice, three times, he got it on the fourth time. Some slams, some ground and pound, and eventually the choke as well. His first submission, like I said, in his UFC career, just the second in his entire career, his 13th straight win. And you know what was nice about it? Afterwards, we got a clear-cut contender. No lobbying, no jockeying for position. They said Corey is likely next. Corey Sandhagen sitting in the crowd looking like he's about to go on a hiking trip in Portland or something. Got the nice flannel on, got the nice cap on. Corey Sandhagen versus Merab is a fresh new matchup, and so we look forward to that. Co-main event, we have a new champion in the women's bantamweight division. It is Kayla Harrison, and she now has, I think, a very strong case for being one of the most dominant and successful and illustrious athletes as far as mixed martial arts are concerned of the past 2 decades. And I know off the bat, that may seem like hyperbolic. I know it may seem a little, a little prisoner of the moment-y, but consider the fact she is the only 2-time gold medalist to win a UFC championship. She is just the second Olympic gold medalist to win a UFC championship, the first being Henry Cejudo, 2-time PFL champion as well at 55. Now at 135, she defeats Juliana Pena via Kimura in the second round after Juliana had a point deducted in the first. She lost that round 10-8, and then Kayla doing what she does best with the takedowns and then the submissions. Kimura win for Juliana. Then afterwards, again, we know what's next. Amanda comes in. Oh, the aftermath was amazing. The face-off, the promo. Kayla was, that was an A-plus performance out of Kayla Harrison. There it is right there. And just when women's MMA, and in particular this division, needed it most, there's the GOAT. Amanda Nunes returning with a fight that has an unbelievable backstory. No love lost between them. Former teammates, now foes. Kayla, Amanda comes out of retirement, face-to-face. It's amazing stuff. A great night, a great main and co-main, if you ask me, but you're not just here to hear me talk about it all. Let's bring in the other members of 3-Pack. First, we go to the mayor of the Nutmeg State, the man in the hat, the pride of CT, Mr. Chuck Minanel here. Chuck, how are you?
I am well, man. That ended up being a pretty good card, right? That was pretty good in the end.
It did.
Yeah.
Look, the main card, I think, had high expectations, and I think it delivered. And you know what's the best sign that it delivered? PT is still awake at 6:13 a.m. in Edda. There he is, the patron saint of the Emerald Isle, the host of the critically acclaimed podcast, The Crack. Hello, PT. What's The Crack?
How are you? Very good intro, I must say. Don't really do them like that on my show personally, but I like what you're doing.
No.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Also, like the transition from the lads show into this show, seamless. What a wonderful team we have here.
Andy,
unbelievable.
Tremendous.
Yes, unbelievable stuff, Andy. Yes.
Thank you, Frank.
These all deserve the flowers. Frank as well. Congratulations, Frank. I mean, so many people thank Jordan. I mean, we could go on and on. But yes, I mean, I was very pessimistic this week. I think particularly around the press conference on Thursday, I was going, oh no. I know I text you a few Sky has fallen text messages, Helwani. I know I spoke to you about it on Friday. Chuck, I was like,
Yes, you did.
where's the tickets? Why is there so many tickets available? What's going on? But when it all came down to it, that magic place, Newark, New Jersey, one of my favorite places I've ever been. Of course, you know I'm a big fan of Harrison, where I stayed last time. Wonderful, wonderful people of New Jersey delivered once again, and fantastic night of fights. I thought, all in all, lads.
Okay, so let's give Merab his flowers, and perhaps to a degree, Sean O'Malley his flowers as well. Sean, by the way, kudos to him sticking around after Merab's great post-fight interview, just to essentially say thank you to the crowd for coming out and how grateful he is. He's now a father of two. I thought it was really classy stuff from Sugar Sean O'Malley. It was a different Sean O'Malley, right, Chuck? Didn't have the dyed hair. Changed his walkout music to "I'm proud to be an American." Didn't quite hit the same as Lupe Fiasco, if you ask me. And the takedown defense was there in the end. By the way, according to UFC stats, Merab was 5 of 12, which speaks to just how improved Sean was. But Merab, again, dominant, relentless, just never. He is truly the machine, maybe the most apropos nickname in all of combat sports. And then he gets the sub. Your thoughts on what you just witnessed from the proud Georgian?
And it's kind of how you want to look at it too, because you say 5 of 12. And you point out like, well, that's fairly successful. Shut down more than 50% of those attempts, but 12 attempts over the course of just less than 3 rounds is a lot, man. And I think that's what gets you. You almost feel like Sean O'Malley fought the best fight he was going to be able to present a guy like Merab, right? Like he went in there, you could tell that he had been working this whole time on his defense. There was a couple times where he was able to keep it standing where you're like, how did he just pull that off? There's once or twice where he got up, where he was able to kind of get up, but he was still in a bad position. But man, it just tells you that guy is so hard to prepare for. And it was, to me, it was just how quick Merab got in there. Like, you know, he would kind of lunge in with like a 1-2, and then he would be on him like Velcro. And then from that point on, you know, it becomes Merab's world. What's he going to do? I just don't know how you prepare for that, especially, and this is, in the end, I think we can look back on this. O'Malley may go on to have like 10 wins from this point, you know, in a row. But you may look back at this one and be like, man, he couldn't compete with Merab. That's a guy who had his number. Just stylistically, it was a nightmare. But you could tell that he focused on the exact things he needed to do, and it wasn't nearly enough. And I don't know. I guess at that point, when you're talking about giving Merab his flowers, it's more about like just continuing to give him our disbelief and our awe, because I think most guys at the end of that 3rd round, most fighters, even extremely well-conditioned athletes, would have been exhausted with that effort that he had put in there tonight. And he acted like it was nothing. He climbed over the fence, shaking everybody's hands, posing for pictures. You felt like he could do that all night. So I feel like we're looking at just a completely different kind of athlete and a different kind of champion at this point.
Yeah, and by the way, Pete, I just want to add, you know, there's all this talk about him being, could he be the GOAT? Will he be the GOAT? Is he the GOAT? No one has successfully defended the bantamweight title 3 straight times. You know, he won the belt back in September. This is now his 2nd straight title defense. So he is creeping into the Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw category. And the knock on him, yeah, dominant, yeah, relentless, gas tag, cardio for days, but maybe doesn't get enough finishes. Isn't exciting. Well, you could throw that out the window. He just submitted Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Absolutely. And look, here's the thing about it. We're talking about the takedown defense of O'Malley and how he managed to block them. I don't think that Merab is surprised by that at all. I think that's part of his plan. I don't think he cares whether you stuff these takedowns or you allow him to get on top of you. He knows that he's making you work. I don't think he's particularly worried about the scoreline in terms of how many times he gets back to his feet and how many times he can stave you off, because he knows he's going to keep coming at him. He's just pure exhaustion is his tactics, and his relentlessness is one of the best weapons we've seen in modern day MMA. I thought it was interesting that, and I understand this as well, I'm not trying to shit on O'Malley at all here, because I understand that these are relevant points, that he did block more takedowns. When he went back to his corner after the 1st round, Tim Welsh said to him, that's great, My query at that point is, how is that great? Because this guy only gets better as the fight goes on, where everyone else doesn't get better. You are not going to beat Merab in the later rounds of a fight. If you aren't winning the first round of a fight, that is a very, very bad sign for you in a fight against Merab. And yeah, I just think we watched O'Malley do the very best he could, and he wilted eventually. And look, the O'Malley we saw this week, very, very different. You talked about the music. Everything seems stripped back from him, and I think Chuck made a great point on the crack when we're all musing about why this O'Malley, this version of O'Malley has shown up without the hair dye, without the showmanship that we've seen usually, without the braggadocio that we've seen. I think it was because, and Chuck made this point, that he knew what he had to go through. And it's a hellish pursuit trying to beat Merab Dvalishvili. And we saw tonight why he's so brilliant and why he's one of the best fighters in the world at the moment.
Yeah, and in an era where maybe the UFC is having trouble getting some fighters to be as active as they would like them to be, here's Merab, sort of cut from the same cloth, the Anzac boys, right, who just wants to fight every 3-4 months. They should embrace that. Now, part of the problem with that is that he is running through all the contenders. There aren't that many fresh opponents left for him. Corey is one of the last ones, and that's the fight that I think we all want to see. Jan would be next. He has a very dominant one-sided win over Petr Yan, but if Jan wins his next fight, he'll probably be next as well. They can worry about that later. But Merab is such a fun guy. He's the kind of guy that you want to get behind. He's, I think, very promotable. He does his own promoting. He comes from a region now that has become very successful as far as producing MMA fighters is concerned. Look at Ilya and the other guys that are following behind them, including Ilya's brother. Like, there's a lot to like here with Merab. Plus, he's got the ties to the Northeast. He's got the ties to New York and the tri-state area. The UFC should really get behind Merab. And I know there was a time, by the way, Chuck, where they were not behind him. I know there was a time where they were saying, like, you lose your next one, you're out. I think it's time to throw that out the window as well.
Yeah, it does seem like he was off on the wrong foot through a process, but you've talked to him many times, and I mean, we've been seeing this from him for a while, and I feel like he's just one of those guys that felt inevitable coming up, and it seems like he has handled, like, some guys just don't handle the spotlight as well as Merab. Like Merab, it's almost like he knew he was going to be there. He knew he needed to show his personality, and he's done that. But I think in the end, there's something about watching guys. I think back. I know you love George St. Pierre, and you think about guys like that and what they did. Some of the theater that came at it from even in the GSP era was that you could see him breaking a guy down. You could see him breaking somebody's will through the course of a fight. I feel like that's the business Merab is in. He's in the business of, like, in a live event, breaking a guy's will for everybody to see. You know what I mean? And I don't know if he broke O'Malley this time, but obviously he won that fight. And you can see when it just starts to, like, in that early, when he got that big takedown, took it to the center of the cage, you could just see the life go out of O'Malley at that point. Like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of this? And he wasn't able to in the end. And then that first fight, I think there was between, was it 4 and 5, the rounds where they're just like, we're almost done. We're almost through. I mean, it's just the demeanor of the corners, the fighters that he's going against, just the way he turns these competitors, man, these guys who have been apex hunters themselves for so long into guys who are just hanging on or trying to figure out how to survive. And to me, that's impressive, man. I mean, as a guy who's watched this sport, 17 years, 18 years, been covering it that long, that's very impressive to me.
By the way, I want to give a shout out. Sorry. So I just want to give a shout out to Scatty Stormborn on the super chat, because I was doing that title defense thing in real time, and I knew my math sucked. Shout out to Aljo. Aljo has the record 3 title defenses. The second Jan fight was a unification bout, interim, all that stuff, and then TJ Cejudo. So the next one would tie Aljo for the record.
Now, is Merab okay with breaking his buddy's record?
Yeah, he'll probably move up. He's such a nice guy. He'll probably move up to 145 before he does that. But didn't want to interrupt you, PT, but I did want to clarify that because it will annoy me to no end if I don't do that.
No problem. That's twice now, but, like, it's okay. All right.
It's just like we're jumping in here. We don't do it as often.
I'm just going to try and plow through. All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
We're talking
Ariel,
about
I got a point I was going to bring.
I've been meaning to hear from you, Chuck. Is there anything else?
I'm kidding. Go ahead, man.
2 cans of piss. That's what I'm dealing with here.
Yeah.
But in terms of how great this lad is, before he fought Umar at 311, I just, it's seared into my memory. I spoke to John Wood, and this isn't something you'd hear you'd hear Merab say, certainly back then when he felt like he'd been forced into this position. There was all the talk that, look, they're pushing Umar because they want a new Nurmagomedov. They want a guy to put in a spot and say, this is Khabib 2.0. And Wood said, what if Merab is Khabib 2.0? And I think that's what we're seeing here. Like, you're talking about how he's getting more popular. People are getting behind him. I think this is one of those things where if people keep on seeing him, people will begin to appreciate what he brings to the table. And then there can be a more global appreciation of what Merab is doing in this bantamweight division.
Let me go back to you real quick here. I said, Pete, that Corey's the fight that we want to see, but I was really speaking on behalf of all of you, and that's quite rude of me. Is there someone that's getting screwed here, or is that the fight?
No, it's the fight. And look, I think we'll talk about it later. We would need to talk about the women's bantamweight fight first. But I thought the only spanner that could be thrown in the works was Patchy Mix, and I thought it was a very underwhelming debut. Yeah, but honestly, like one of the most underwhelming debuts we've seen. Honestly, like, we were waxing lyrical all week about this guy. Like,
save it. We,
okay. Sorry.
That performance doesn't deserve to be. Yeah.
Although I will say that, like, that tells you something. If we even had that discussion about the gap between where Merab is, Sandhagen kind of being there, and all the guys he's already beat or just don't have it yet, it tells you about that, because you have a guy who's not even ranked that we're trying to put into that spot because there's just not a lot of good options right now other than Sandhagen.
One thing that the UFC doesn't do at all these days, which I wish they would do more of, is label fights as number one contender fights. And honestly, if they're going to do 5-round co-main events on pay-per-views, I know fight night main events are 5 rounds, but if they're going to do 5-round co-main event fights on pay-per-views, to me, those should just be for number one contender fights. I don't like this thing where it's like a random fight getting a 5-round just for the hell of it. And they used to label fights as number one contender fights. For whatever reason, they don't. If we're not going to get that anymore, and I think the reason is they just don't want to, like, back themselves in a corner in case the fight sucks. But if we're not going to get that, what we got today was perfect, or tonight. Main event ends, we know who's next right away. There's no debate. There's no, like I said, jockeying for position or public campaigning. I love the fact that Merab knows who's next, and I love the fact that Kayla knows who's next. Now, sometimes fights need to play out. I get it. But this was beautiful. It was clean, and we could look ahead to the future. I love that. I hope we get to see more of that. Now, I just want to ask you, Chuck, about Suga. Where does Suga go from here? Because for all the changes and for all the takedown defense, he ended up losing mid-fight as opposed to going the distance with this guy. You know what I mean? Like, that has to be a hard pill to swallow. He went 5 rounds, and in fact, in their first fight, had flashes of brilliance in the 5th round. This time he gets submitted in the 3rd round after everything he's been through, after all the changes, being healthy, not dyeing his hair, the music, some of the drug stuff and the personal stuff. Like, he eliminated it all. And
what is the difference in shows right there, Pete?
Jane the Pain.
That's the difference in shows right there, Pete. This guy takes the high road, whereas you just highlight it.
Honestly, up until this week, I just thought Gooners were, soccer players who played for Arsenal. I had no idea.
Told me what it was.
I had no idea. The point is, how does he process this, and where does he go from here? As you know, one of the things that was talked about was if he loses this, he's in purgatory, and there's no sign of Merab losing anytime soon. Should he consider 145? He didn't hit at that. What do you think happens?
Shades of the Volkanovski Holloway thing, where you're just like, I mean, it gets a little more emphatic, the second time through, and that sort of thing. So I think if he doesn't care, and this is, I get the sense he's in this to be a champion. He seemed very comfortable as a champion. Like, he was a guy who really handled himself well, and if that's really the pursuit, his best route is going to go to featherweight. We were talking to Ben Folks on the Crack, and he did bring up some good points. The type of frame he has at 135 pounds is unique. It's novel. It's very hard to deal with. The length, just his awkwardness and lankiness and everything that he's able to snipe. He's just not able to get through the guy. who's at the top right now. So it really comes down to what are the immediate wants here. If he wants to try to go for a belt, I think featherweights is probably his best chance because I don't think that you can wait out Merab. I don't see, like, if you were just to like survey that field, I don't really see anybody beating him anytime soon. We know that in this sport things happen, but that's one champion who looks like he is going to be there a while. So I think it kind of comes down to that thing. What's the end goal, and how soon do you want to do it? And my guess is it would probably be featherweight.
Yeah, I wonder if he sticks around a little bit. You brought up the Holloway and Volkanovski thing. Holloway stuck around, and he eventually got back to the title fight. We've seen this situation before with Joseph Benavidez and Demetrius Johnson. We've seen it with Uriah Faber and Dominic Cruz at 135. And so I don't know if, while he is tall and lanky, his frame would suggest a move to 145 would be beneficial. I don't know if that's going to be the move. However, when I say the move, the immediate move, when we did have Tim Welch on the show, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he did say that at some point he'd like to see him try 145. So maybe
just to be clear, I was trying to say, like, if he goes to 145, some of the uniqueness of his frame won't be as translatable. That's all I meant.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah, no, it's a really great point. I mean, he still would be one of the taller featherweights,
right?
Which is a crazy thing, but I don't know if he can get to be that big to where he is successful. Yeah. At 145. I'm excited about Corey Sandhagen versus Merab. I'm just excited to see Merab get his flowers. I'm excited to see him evolve into this fun character, this guy who has an incredible backstory, who represents his country so well. By the way, shout out to Venom. I like the shorts. I like the trim. We don't usually get the red trim there. It felt very cool. Nationalistic. I like that they're doing this.
Regal, almost. Yeah.
Yes, regal. All those words come to mind.
Shout out to William Regal. Do you guys like? I mean, you see this kind of performance. Do you like Sandhagen's chances if you're just thinking about it right now? Do you think he presents some kind of danger that the guys that Merab's been beating hasn't seen yet?
No, I think.
Go ahead.
It's like this style. I don't know what you have to do, and I've been saying this for a very long time about Merab. I can remember when the Yan fight, and I was a massive Yan mark. I still am. When they announced that he was fighting him, I was like, oh well, that's a disaster. Like, he is just a nightmare. Like, how do you plan for a guy that will just keep sprinting at you? And it doesn't matter if you stuff his takedowns, because he's going to immediately try another takedown, and it doesn't matter if you try to kick him, because he's actually on top of you even though you're standing up. He's right here all the time. Like for Sandhagen, I think when I think about him having success, it's him enjoying his long range and him using beautiful. Like, he's very technical, and he strikes in such a beautiful way. But Merab just doesn't present himself as a canvas for that kind of artistry. Like, he's there, he's just like this the whole time.
I know.
Get used to this. That's what you're going to be seeing for as long as the fight lasts.
Burrowing his head in your chest. God. It's kind of fun, though, right? I mean, we haven't seen like a dominant.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, truly dominant. It's almost like a throwback to back when Anderson Silva, and they're just throwing up anybody like, who's throw Talasletas at. I mean, it's like whoever they could find at some point and just see who could compete with him. It's just been a while, man. Like, so now I'm interested to see how far he can take it.
You know what's wild about Merab? That was his 13th win in a row, but like I said, just his second title defense. He had to do so much just to get to the title fight that, like, it's almost like he's just getting started. I mean, we were talking about this recently. If like Anderson's record and DJ's record, are those the unbeatable records in the UFC? God. And this might be the guy. Right? I mean, it might be the guy. Look, anything can happen. Corey could go in there, and all this is for naught. It's hard to keep the belt. It's hard to remain champion. But he has really shown no signs of slowing down. And I'd have to go through the record, but I wonder how many rounds he's lost in those 13 fights. You know what I mean? And a lot of those are on the distance. So he's fighting a lot of rounds.
He used to actually lose the first round of fights quite often, and then just...
It
was the same thing, right?
Like, he was a slow start. I remember they were talking about that,
yeah, and then he could just overwhelmed them. Like it was like 2 minutes into the second round, you just see that look on their face, like, oh, what the fuck is happening? And he just absolutely stomped them for the last 8 minutes.
Biggest
of the
threat
fight.
to him right now is frozen ponds and like rocky hills that he's running down, stuff like that.
Psychopath. By the way, his 13th straight win. That streak is now tied for fourth longest in UFC history. Okay, let's talk about Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison realizes her dream of being UFC champion, and when I'm watching her get that belt draped around her waist, I am reminded of the post-fight press conference or the post-event press conference back in 2016 when she won her second gold medal, and someone asked her about making the transition to MMA, and she sort of laughed it off and called it WWE, and she says, I'm not someone who likes to trash talk. I'm not someone who likes to sell fights. I just like to be an athlete. I'm reminded of afterwards, when she had just signed with PFL, she was on the MMA Hour, and I asked her about fighting at 135. She said she would have to cut her leg off in order to make 135. Here she is, 9 years later, winning the 135-pound title in the UFC after being a two-time PFL champion, and really enticing Amanda Nunes to come out of retirement to make this super fight, this incredible matchup down the line, hopefully sometime later this year. It's an unbelievable story, and we haven't even touched on everything she's been through in her personal life, and especially as of late, adopting her sister's children and homeschooling them and being this incredible role model for women and people all around the world. What a freaking beast. What an unbelievable performance. It is uncomfortable watching her cut weight, Chuck, but then once that is out of the way, seeing how she rehydrates and then seeing how she performs in there and seeing what she did to the champion Juliana Pena, who was the champ fair and square, the dominance, the submission in the second round, the Kimura with just seconds remaining in the second round, it is a joy to watch her compete, and it's amazing to see someone just be so freaking like strong-minded. Yeah. She said on Thursday she was this close to quitting. She wanted to quit, but she wouldn't allow herself. I don't know how many times she could do this, and so I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, and I mean, she made a point of almost making a storyline, or maybe it is a full-on storyline about that last pound. Kind of losing that by miracle or by God's hand. I mean, that sort of thing tells you just how much she was going through. We were talking about this, Pizzi, on the crack, about like, I don't know how long you can watch her, or, watching her do this, watching her on that scale. And we know the dangers of cutting weight. This just can't be good for you. And I get the sense that there's probably a little bit of like, did she circle it when she came to the UFC? I have this many hells to get through, Yeah. And that's what she's doing. And now she's got to now she's realized the title. And I think she's always looked at the Amanda Nunes fight as like the big crescendo of this. And so she's going to have to do it one more time. And I tell you what, man, when Amanda, that was really brilliant. I don't know if the UFC meant to bring in Amanda Nunes, or if this was straight up just Harrison saying, come in here, and that they opened the gates, she came in. But that kind of thing is awesome, man. Like, and I was writing about this a little bit, just being the face of women's MMA. Is that still a thing? And, the comparisons we make to like the Ronda Rouseys and the impossible things going on. But that's how you get something going, right? Like, you bring in Amanda Nunes, who's actually pretty big. I know that she's not cutting weight or anything. She's not, she's been retired, but like standing next to her and you're like, we've got to fight. I don't know how you guys felt, but looking at that, I was like, dude, this is going to be an insane fight. It got me very excited to see that fight. It made me think so many times we go through these hoops, we talk about all these scenarios, we don't get the fight in the end that we're trying to get. But it sure seems like all signs are pointing towards getting maybe one of the biggest women's fights we've ever had. And to me, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely one of the biggest. And fair play to Juliana Pena, because if you would have just looked at the bookmakers' odds in this fight, it wouldn't have seemed like a contest at all. But the way she spoke all throughout the build up to this fight, she made people really think that, she was going to give Kayla a really good go. And she made us feel like this fight was a lot more important and that she had a real chance. I think that kind of works out in Kayla's favor as well, because we were talking about this on Friday. Like, if you're looking at that odds line, it's actually a different kind of pressure completely, when people are like, you're going to have to go in here and, storm through Juliana Pena, who's beaten the greatest female fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes. You're going to have to go in there and just blow through her, essentially. She managed to get the job done with a really brutal Kimura in the second round, but I think that sets it up way more. I think that elevated Kayla as well, having that war of words with Pena, so fair play to her. And look, Nunes and Harrison, like, that's a huge fight. And of course, the only thing that you have to say coming away from the post-fight interview here, and you guys have already mentioned it, is the weight cut. Like, do we think that Kayla's going to hang around beyond that? Like, we know that she's made an awful lot of money, a lot of money that a lot of fighters will never make in their careers through the PFL and, of course, now into the UFC. After beating the GOAT, will the hunger still be there to make this aggressive weight cut? And it's kind of annoying that she'll be cutting weight alongside Amanda Nunes, another person who we know isn't a natural 135er, but it's a silly game, I guess, Ariel.
Well, okay, so can I offer a suggestion? Tell me if this is a silly suggestion. Would it be crazy to have them fight at 45? Why can't they just fight? Like, it
can't be a title fight, right? Can be.
Fuck. Does it matter? Let's just see. Let's just see who's the queen. Let's see who's the toughest.
Yeah, I suppose it doesn't matter. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, like do a BMF.
Don't know.
Would it be more intriguing too? Wouldn't
please
it?
God, no
That'd be
BMF.
more intriguing.
No, you're suggesting the BMF, Ariel. Okay, go ahead.
By the way, this could be the retirement fight for the 45 division. Amanda is the final 45-pound champion, so you could dust that old thing off. So no big deal there. The point is, like, this can't be healthy for Kayla, and it just speaks to, like, the most impressive thing that she has ever done in her career is making 35, because she is not a 35er. You see what she hydrates into, and what's the shame in all of this is she's enjoying all the success now. She's getting paid top dollar, and she got paid top dollar in PFL too, but I just don't know how much longer she can do this for. Like, it could very well be one more for her, right? She's not going to stick around for 5, 6, 7 fights. And so could we just do a 45 title? Or
what do you think, Ariel? How many left? You know are better than all of us.
I don't think many left. I think 2. Including this one. I mean, she kind of laid it out, and shout out to our friend Andrew Feldman for reposting it today. She kind of laid it out. She said, "I'm gonna beat Holly Holm, then I'm gonna get one more fight. I'm gonna be the number 1 contender after that. I'm gonna win the belt, and I'm gonna bait Amanda Nunes to come out of retirement." She's been talking about that fight for quite some time, and then sort of implied, like, maybe one, or maybe I'll sail into the sunset. Then there's nothing left to do.
I agree with her as well.
Well, if she does one more, it better be at 145 after that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, she's talking about that pound.
Think,
I mean, that's just crazy, right? Like, she's talking about a pound breaking, or like, that's how close she's to breaking, like, her own will, which we know is as strong as anybody in the sport. It's tough, man. She looked on that scale. That was a bad look, and I'm surprised through 3 of these now that we haven't seen some compromised version, some diminished version of herself. Yeah, you think you would, because we've seen others, who go through rough weight cuts consistently, and eventually they show up in a diminished form. We haven't seen that yet. I'm sure it would happen eventually, and but man, I think it just speaks to her iron will. I think that this is one of those things that people just don't give her enough credit for what's going on, because it is just, she was competing at like 165, 170 pounds, right? Like, then 155 down to 145, now 135. Honestly, this is maybe crazier than Rumble Johnson's days at 170. It's as crazy. It
really is.
It's crazy. It really is.
And he had some issues. She has yet to have any issues. Yeah. Just 3 fights at 135. But it's amazing. She was fighting consistently at 55, had a cup of coffee at 45, and then jumped all the way to 35 here, and is beating the champion. I also wonder if this is it for Juliana. She hasn't said this beforehand, but when you think that she came into the UFC in 2013, here she is in 2025, 12 years later at the top, I don't know how much longer she can do this for as well. But man, PT, is this not like the gift from gods for the UFC as far as the the women's division is concerned? Like, we could be staring after this stretch here where it has felt very, very shallow. We could be looking at a back end of 2025, or maybe a early 26 at the latest, where you're getting Kayla versus Amanda and Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah,
like,
out of nowhere.
That's as good as it gets.
Wow. I never thought of that.
And I feel like we've been talking about the lack of big fights, etc. Big fights being missed, but they're two absolutely huge fights. And I can't stop thinking about this 145 stipulation you put down. Like Amanda Nunes certainly wouldn't disagree with that, right? Like she has complained in the past about 135. I don't think she was too happy about the kind of stalling of the 145 division. Like I think she would go for that, right? It would just be purely the UFC saying we want it at 135.
Yeah, I wonder if they'd want to dust off that belt, and I wonder if they want to open that can of worms. My guess is probably not, but I just.
But how would they
wonder
feel as well about like maybe the two of these walking away regardless of the result as well? You know, like that's a serious situation where it's like, oh yeah, we're putting on the fight, but both Amanda and Kayla are retiring regardless of the outcome of this. You know, like that feels like something that could potentially happen, Chuck. Right?
Yeah. You know, you're talking a little bit about Pena. You can't help but feel for her a little bit in this type of situation. I mean, on just a deep level of, I really believe the bane of her existence is Amanda Nunes, and I think that has driven her through a lot of these last few years, and just kind of kept her at the top. I think that trilogy fight, yes, she had it scheduled, she fell out of it. Amanda abruptly, retires after beating Aldana, and now comes back. She says she's going to come back, and you get the chance as long as you get through this last hurdle, which we knew was going to be a very difficult hurdle for her to get through. She was an immense underdog, but I think she believed in herself, but she's not able to do it. And now it just seems like that trilogy fight is as far away as it can be, right? I don't feel like it's. I was talking to Blaze as we're watching the last fights there. I was like, I don't know if she ever gets it now. If she does hang around, and if Amanda Nunes really is coming back for a couple of fights, for a couple of years, whatever she's going to do, I suppose it's still possible, and maybe that will be dangling carrot enough to keep Pena around. But we've seen this happen a lot in the past, where a fight that somebody wants this badly never materializes, and that you do feel bad for Juliana Pena for never getting that trilogy fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, how do you think that fight would go though? Like, I can't. Like, I thought today, Kayla, which we knew about her, right? Like, this is the only argument you could have against Kayla in the lead up to today's fight was like, she hasn't fought the same competition as Pena has. She hasn't fought a Nunes, and of course, Pena had that victory over Nunes. But today in the clinch, I think she showed like this is going to be how everyone gets handled by Harrison. But then you look at the size of Nunes when she's in there; it's a completely different kind of fighter. Who would you favor, lads? Like in that fight, I know Ariel doesn't like to do that, but Chuck, do you have someone you'd favor in that matchup, Harrison v Nunes, right now?
Oh man, right this second, I would probably go with Harrison. She just seems too determined, Like I feel like it's just her, like her whole goal was to come in the UFC and do what she's doing, but there's one thing left. And it's crazy to say that against Nunes, but Nunes has been out. What is it, like 2 years now, or getting close to that? You're never sure what form they'll come back in. I wouldn't put it past Nunes to come in there and win that fight, but I think I would favor and pick. If I'm doing that right now, I'd probably pick Harrison.
Yeah. She's been more active.
How crazy, by the way, that those up kicks in that first round. How nuts was that? It was almost like Pena had no idea that she was. I know. It was almost like she was like, okay, I'm getting some offense. Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, dude, whoa, what are you doing? That was a wild sequence. I'm glad that didn't come back to like haunt the fight. No disqualifications, nothing like that,
Yeah, but like imagine how her corner felt. You go back to the corner, like, okay, you have to win every single round now. It's a 10-8 round. You have to win every single round. Best of luck. Horrific.
Shout out to the legend. I love when they go to New Jersey. Shaolin Ribeiro. He was the referee for that one. Took the point right away. No warnings. You can't do this.
You love that shit, Ariel. You're a cruel boss. You'd be a cruel official.
Yo, look at Chase Hooper. Shout out to Shaolin for taking a point for those up kicks. Not enough refs are willing to take points anymore. Yes, Chase, I agree with you, my friend. Also, shout out to Ben Folks, who says, well, how about that? Shaolin Ribeiro ain't messing around as a ref. I love it. Yes. First warning in the cage. In the locker room.
Right call.
Second, that was pretty point deduction
brutal,
in the cage. Come on, man.
Ruined the fight for me.
Yo, if that was some of these other refs, I'd be like, you can't do it. You can't do that. One more time, and I might take away a point. Get the fuck out of here. By the way, a fascinating storyline going into this fight, whenever it happens. Obviously, they used to train together, but Kayla was much younger in her MMA career, as the great Walt Frazier would say. She was a neophyte. Here's the other thing.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. All those coaches at ATT think they know a thing or two about Amanda Nunes, about her strengths, about her weaknesses. Like they have the blueprint, right?
True.
Of course.
True.
She's fighting
Oh,
ATT.
fascinating. I love it.
That's a crazy one with Mike Brown leading
Yeah.
the charge. So can't wait to see it. And shout out to Ali for being right there front and center. You saw that
Yeah.
moment with Kayla and Dana. Ali's getting in there being like, hey guys, look at us. We did it.
You don't
We
get a lot of heartwarming moments, but I'm like, when you do, you savor them, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. You could say that was a good moment for Don Davis and the boys because it was one of their homegrown talents making it to the top of the UFC apex, if you will, and winning a title. On the flip side, it was a tale of two nights because perhaps it wasn't a homegrown PFL talent, but it was a homegrown Bellator talent. And so let's skip a couple fights and go to Patchy Mix and Mario Bautista.
PT. Now that's called a segue. Take me.
Yeah.
PT and I were texting about this. We have a group chat, Chuck, for the
I knew
show.
he was going to fucking go at this.
No, and PT was incessantly texting the group chat for the show, and I had to tell him on the side, like, hey, the guys are doing a watch party right now. Like, you can
I was just giving them some material.
Then I was getting solo texts. Then he started the new thread with you and I, and it was just like PT the Octopus, as he called himself, just texting everyone, And among those texts was a discussion between us about whether or not this was the worst. Oh, as my screen goes off, golly,
Someone ran away
how
with the
embarrassing
bookshelf
is this?
again, man.
as I'm shitting all over PT. Among this, was this the worst debut in the history of the UFC? And when I say debut, I'm not talking about the CM Punks of the world. I'm talking about highly anticipated debuts.
Like massive expectations, right?
Yes. DC said that this was the most anticipated debut that we've seen in quite some time. I would beg to differ. Patricia Pitbull just 2 months ago was way more anticipated than this one, and there have been others. Point is, what did we used to talk about around a year ago? If you go weight class by weight class, it's Patchy Mix and Usman Nurmagomedov. Those are the two guys who could probably walk into the UFC right now and become a champion, right? And we also said Patchy might be the best, and we also said Patchy might be the best Bellator champion. We said he could be bantamweight champion, all this stuff and more. PT, I'll go to you because you brought him up first. I was blown away by how bad he was. I was blown away by how he looked. He was stiff. He was uncomfortable. He was getting pieced up by Mario Bautista. We never seen Mario Bautista look this good. And perhaps it's time to put some respect on his name. That's 8 in a row. Who was that guy? Who was that Patchy Mix? If you didn't know anything about him, you would have said, how the hell did this guy make it to the UFC? He looked that bad, and I don't understand because he is not that guy. Who was that guy? What the hell happened?
It was crazy to watch that. And just for the record, but I thought Ariel was going to say there because I did mention this, Chuck, when I was texting him. Me and Chuck were both in agreement on a roundtable piece we did this week for Uncrowned saying, we think Patchy Mix is the best fighter to ever sign for the UFC from Bellator.
Golly.
And I was very excited because this guy, I've seen this guy fight live. His submissions are unbelievable. His setups, his entries are unbelievable. We saw none of that tonight. Absolutely none of it. And it was crazy to watch because I've never seen him look like this. And you're watching him and there's this grimace on his face as Bautista just pummels him. Like he is pummeling him. He looks like Jose Aldo, when he was fighting him and everyone got upset with Bautista because he wouldn't let him fight. He was like raging bull in there, changing angles. He was piecing him up. Meanwhile, Patchy just completely static. Didn't seem to want to show us any of that stellar submission skills that we all fell in love with. The reason why you're here is because of the amazing back takes, all this wonderful stuff you do on the ground. We didn't see a bit of it. And I thought very early on, I think it was very obvious it was going to go that way. He was very stationary and there was this grimace on his face. It wasn't just like frustration. It was like, this is painful, man. Like this guy is hurting me regularly and I just can't get going. And I just, in a million years, I wouldn't have seen it going that way, Chuck.
It's almost like you are standing by for an explanation. Like you must expect him to have something that he's going to say that's like, hey, I was dealing with this or something, because that was one of the more shocking no-shows. I was kind of shocked. I was like watching the first round. And you're like, wait a minute, where's the guy that we've been watching in Bellator? And this isn't one of those brights or too lights. The lights are too bright situations. This is just a guy who looks like he's, I don't know, not there. He didn't look like he was there. When Batista landed the first big straight right hand that clocked him, it was almost like he was like, oh my God, that was easy. And then he did it again and just landed again. He's like, he's not going to move his head. It was almost like it was dawning on him, like he's not moving his head. He's not coming forward. It was just, that was so crazy that I was almost like, okay, if that was your strategy for the first round, you better come to life in the second round and show us what the real, hoopla was with this guy coming over here. And it never showed up. I guess in the third round, it seemed like he was starting to get into it, a little bit more of a rhythm, but never. He was so stiff that at one point it looked like he changed levels and kind of went in on him, like he was going to take him down and just bounced off him. Like his arms wouldn't even extend to go around. It was just so bizarre. I've just never seen a debut like that where I felt like his corner was befuddled. Like they're like, what is happening? Yeah, we don't even know what to tell you. By far one of the worst, most disappointing debuts for somebody of that caliber that I can recall in the UFC.
And when you consider all the noise leading up to this point, and the confidence and the things that he was saying, I mean, it's incredibly disappointing. In fact, my sons don't really watch fighting, but they're downstairs. I put it on the TV. I say, hey, watch this fight. You guys will be into this fight. This guy is incredible. And they're like, this guy? It was the worst.
Oh my Lord!
It's like the one fight I've shown them in, I don't know, a year and a half. They're like, this guy you said was good? Like, even they were like, why is he not moving? Why does he keep getting punched?
Like, your taste in fighters sucks, Dad.
Maybe Dad doesn't know that much about fighting after all.
Yo, Batista, man, time to put some respect, right? 8 in a row now.
He needed that, dude. He needed that.
Yo, he came in there with like a killer instinct. He came in, he heard all the talk of the clinching and the takedowns with Aldo. I don't know if he shot. I'm going to check this out right now. I don't know if he shot once. Did he even shoot once? He was
just pinging him, man. He didn't need to. He was pinging the lad.
It was unbelievable.
It was a brilliant.
I think he was waiting for anything to come at him, and it just never did. So he's like, well, I'm just going to keep teeing off on this guy.
Yeah, 1 takedown for Patchy Mix, 0 for Batista. It was unbelievable. In fact, I think I had Batista winning via sub on the Yahoo Sports Daily Draw. That never came to fruition. But the point is that was an incredible performance. I think we have a contender at 135, or at least a player, as we're talking about potential new faces for Merab down the line. I'd like to chalk this one up to octagon jitters for Patchy. Short notice fight. He's been through a lot. He's been inactive. But man, what an indictment on the Bellator bantamweight division, right?
Yeah,
at least for now. What an indictment.
And look,
golly.
I don't think he's done himself any favors either, if I'm being honest, Like, this is the UFC. People remember what you say and lead up to fights. We know more than anyone.
People you saw the piece I wrote. This stuff. Like, it was just the most confident.
I'm looking past this guy. I am looking past this guy, right? That's what he told you.
Pretty much. Like, I mean, he was. I pointed this out earlier. I don't know if you caught this. Like, I'd mentioned, hey, you've been rolling with Merab, and he said, Merab's been rolling with me. Like, that's how confident he was. He was just talking about his world-class grappling skills, submission skills, and all the guy, even Hamzat. He's like, I grapple Hamzat. He's talking all this stuff, and then to show up and show none of that to the audience, your new audience, the thing that you're dawning on people who are UFC centric, and to show up with that,
crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Do you think we're gonna get like an injury story? Like, are you expecting one? Like, because I'm not joking. Like, I think there had to be something wrong with him, honestly.
I don't know. And I was a little surprised that the crowd was booing so much, because I actually didn't think it was a bad fight. Like, they stood there and they traded, and I just love the fact that Batista went in there, listened to the criticism, and just said, all right, I'll show you guys. Like, this guy is really, really good. And that wasn't the best version of Patchy. Certainly, I mean, I don't even care if Patchy is fighting lesser talent in Bellator. He looked like a guy. If you didn't know any better, you would think this is a guy who was like 1-0 going in. It was very strange. Towards the very end, of the third, or maybe like midway through the third, he had some moments, and God bless the broadcast team. They were trying to sell us on this notion that he may have won the second, and they were 1-1 going into the third, and he could have.
I didn't even think he won the third. I didn't even think he won the third.
I had a 30-27. I had a 30-27.
Same here.
It was awful. I mean, honestly, it was like I said, I don't know if a high profile, if you want to call him high profile, person has had a worse debut. I'm sure, there's been some ones where
expectation beat product.
What's with the stiff thing though?
It was weird.
It's like the movement.
Flat-footed, stiff, not
static,
moving.
completely static.
Yeah.
Static. It was like, I remember Mark Coleman, whichever, like UFC 109 or something like that, was really old, and he couldn't move. As he was in there, and you're watching him, and you're thinking, Mark, no more, man. I mean, you hate to but he's not old. He's 31 years old. But I'm like, why did he suddenly look like he was 45? That was very strange.
Bizarre.
Yeah, weird. But look, we're all going to focus on Patchy Mix. In my opinion, as big of a story is just how good Bautista seems to be, and also that it feels like he has finally gotten some respect to where now he can take that next step, because people didn't want to give him that respect after the Jose Aldo fight. A guy who is never short in respect is Pizzi for Joe Pyfer. I mean, the love that you have for this guy, I was just thinking of you in your gaff, probably 2 a.m, just yelling, "Be Joe Pyfer, be Joe Pyfer."
I did. I was saying it.
It looked for a moment like he was being Joe Pyfer, and then it seemed like he kind of just took his foot off the gas. I'm not quite sure. He dominated Kelvin Gastelum. He won the fight. It wasn't an easy fight. Excuse me. It wasn't a hard fight to score. But you did get the sense that he was about to finish him, and he didn't. So how would you grade that performance from your boy?
It's tough, right? Gastelum is built like a fire hydrant. His head, if you just look at his head, it's like trying to knock a cow out, man. He is a big lad, Well, he's a thick lad. And I thought he nearly had him done twice. Pyfer looked like a different species beside him. That tends to happen with Gastelum, of course. Like Gastelum, not the tallest of the weight class. He has a different body shape. We know he has had his struggles with the scales.
He's got a very common body shape. Actually, it's like just could be any man.
Yeah, Pyfer bombed the head off him a few times. We just kept springing back up, and I often see this in fights like where lads just exhaust themselves to the point they don't have the capacity to finish a fight. They've gone after it 2 or 3 times, just like, you know what, I'm fucking winning, and that's just the way it's going to have to be. Pyfer, I think he wants to shut everyone up, right? Like he's won the ire of many, it would seem, since the first fallout fight between those guys. But I think it's a good fight. Gastelum is a tough guy. You can never bank on getting a finish against Gastelum. So I think it was good. It didn't set the world on fire, but on a night that had so many good fights, you're not looking at it and kind of shaking your fist like you usually would had you been relying on this to deliver above all the other fights.
Is Joe Pyfer still your guy? Because I mean, like, after all the kind of opening his mouth, and
you didn't like the Mexico discourse, PT? You were offended by it?
No, I didn't. I didn't really. I just saw the offense, and I went, "Oh, yeah, there we go." That's happening again. There's a lot of people upset again, which happens a lot in our sport. To be fair,
did you see the one reporter mentioned to him that he was that his hairline had the comeback of the year, and it looked like he wanted to kill the guy? Did you see that?
Did you go?
He didn't know what to do with it. He kind of was like, should I be annoyed at this?
Is that an insult? What is that? I mean,
it's fucking obvious when you get what does GC call it? Getting plugged up, whatever the fuck he calls it. But it's dotted up. Sorry, not plugged. Jesus Christ, PT. I'm having a mare with the pornographic references over the last few weeks.
No. Remember Nick Sick in the back? He was talking about his going to Turkey. He was telling me and Sean El Shadi, you guys got to get out there, man. You got to
get dotted up.
Yeah, dotted up.
It was a nice win for him after the nightmare a couple of months ago in Mexico. He gets back on track. Tried to get the crowd going in the aftermath. Just talking about Trump and all this stuff. By the way, this thing. Look, we don't need to get into the walkout and how they once pretended like it was just coincidental that they all walked out together. But every fighter, actually, we have a super chat about this. Shout out to the super chatters. We love you all very much. Where is one? I thought I saw it at some point, but maybe I didn't. The glazing the glazing, as the kids say.
Man,
like
so
it's
every
fucking,
fighter-
it's always been mental though. It's
Out
not
of
just
control.
mental now. It's been fucking mental
What's
since
happened?
it started.
Like,
out of control.
They're
man.
more excited about the handshake than the win.
and here's the Secretary of
Be an
State. He's throwing up
American.
gang signs. You know what I mean?
But I don't understand.
Whatever it is.
You win a fight. You've been preparing for months, and this thing where you're the first thing that you do is jump over and you shake everyone's hand. You shake his hand. You shake Hunter Campbell's hand. You shake Dana White's hand. You shake the broadcast team's hand. What is going on? How did this become a thing? How did this become a thing?
I would have
It
jumped
is-
over and like said hello to Joey Diaz. I'd be like, "Hey, you doing, buddy? Good to see you, man." That'd been my
legend. Anyway, there it is. Were the fighters competing for a 50K glaze of the night bonus? Relentless Trump
How does it
blazing
seem that
tonight.
way?
Yes, it was. It was something. The
It's
walkout
weird
was
as
great.
fuck.
Once
It's,
again.
it's always been weird as fuck, but the walkout's hilarious in fairness.
Now,
It's
shout out to
always been
Joshua Van. Joshua Van getting the quick finish gave them that 2-minute stretch that they needed before the pay-per-view to do the impromptu walkout. What about Kevin Holland? What an enigma this guy is, right? I mean, like, he has really put it all together. He has found his home at 170 pounds. He submits Vicente Luque. Granted, maybe not the Vicente Luque of a couple of years ago, but it really seems like he has found something here, Chuck. What's the ceiling now for Kevin Holland? Can he go on a run here?
It does seem like, and I'm the guy who was talking to Pizzi and saying there's no stakes in this type of thing, and he doesn't care about a title, and this is a guy who's entered that Chris Lieben territory of just wanting to put on a show. But every time I kind of go in that mindset with him, he does something, and this one specifically, he just looks so in control in this fight. And it was just a thing of beauty, man, to watch him operate in this type of fight. I think he should stay at 170, and just kind of, you'd want to see him. I guess at some point you have to see him in a disadvantage or a bad stylistic matchup again to know how far he's come. But like, if I'm the UFC, I'd probably give him guys like this for the next fight or two. And if he's able to get through those, maybe you do start to take him more seriously again. But when he's on like that, it's a thing of beauty. Back to back between him and Van, I was like, dude, we're catching like a really good card tonight. You know what I mean? With the just the kind of aesthetic that these guys were fighting with and the finishes that were going on. It was a very good table setter for this card. But man, when he's operating like that, man, I can't get enough Kevin Holland.
It's just hard to know what to do with him, isn't it? Like it's hard to know where to put him next, as far as I'm concerned. There's no natural fight that jumps out for you. Obviously, Luque he's ranked there, so it kind of pushed him into that situation again. But there's no fight there where I'm like, that's a great fight. That's a fight we'd all love to see. I think the beauty of Holland is like every time he gets in there, he is entertaining. Even those fights when people were saying, "Oh, he's lost it. He's just focusing too much on this trash talk," and it was still captivating. Captivating watch, perhaps for the wrong reasons. But you always feel like you got to watch when he's in there. And great performance tonight against Luque, I thought.
That's now 2 in a row for him. Prior to that, he had losses to RDR and Dolice, but those were at 85. He has found a home, I think, at 170, and he should stay there. I mean, we all said, I remember back in March, he looked fantastic against Gunnar Nelson. And look, he's fighting, maybe guys who are on the back 3 of their career, if you will. I don't know if that's a saying, but you get the point. They're there towards the very end. He's getting those wins. He's on a roll. I think he'll always be one of those sort of Donald Cerrone type of fighters who will win 2, lose 1, win 2. But he's entertaining. He talks the talk. He walks the walk. He kind of swerved us this morning with a tweet, I think tricking us that his fight was maybe in jeopardy, and then doing the whole, yeah, I don't know. It's not very fun. But
especially right after the Blanchfield thing that just happened last week. I mean, it actually did happen.
Our currency is credibility here as reporters, as capital J journalists, and it's different strokes for different folks. So a nice win for Kevin Holland, submitting Vicente Luque via Anaconda in the second round. We have mentioned Joshua Van. He had a phenomenal performance on the prelims. 125 significant strikes landed tonight, which ties Brandon Moreno for most in UFC flyweight history. Most performances in UFC flyweight history with 100 plus significant strikes in a fight. That's 5 times in his UFC career that he has over 100 plus significant strikes. He also has won his 4th in a row. That's number 2 behind Alex Pantoja as far as active winning streaks are concerned. He is a very, very fun fighter, an up-and-coming fighter that I think a lot of people are excited about. Also, shout out to Azamat Murzakanov, who earned a knockdown in his victory tonight, extending his UFC streak of consecutive fights with a knockdown to 5. That ties Ilia Topuria for the longest such active streak in the UFC. This according to the UFC. Also, he has the 2nd longest active UFC winning streak in the light heavyweight division with 5. Currently, Carlos Ulberg, ladies' man himself, has 8. So he had a big win over Brenson Ribeiro, a nice knockout win. Shout out to him. Shout out to Waldo Cortez Acosta. He caught some strays earlier this week from Derek Lewis, but he did in fact extend his winning streak to 5, the longest active winning streak in the heavyweight division. He picked up a win over Sergey Spivak, and also wanted to give a shout out to Ju Sung Yu, who picked up the 4th fastest debut finish in UFC featherweight history. He wins in just 28 seconds. He picked up a bonus. Kayla Harrison picked up a bonus. Murzakanov picked up a bonus, and Merab picked up a bonus tonight. So congratulations to all of them. Guys, some news came from the event. October 18th, the UFC is going back to Vancouver for a fight night. October 4th will be UFC 320. And that means no pay-per-view in September. And according to our friend Jedi Goodman, it's the first time since, did I say November or September?
You said September.
Okay, good. It's getting late here. And I can't, I'm sorry, it's getting early over there, PT. First time since 2005 that there isn't a pay-per-view in September for the UFC. Remember, they were supposed to do one September 13th. It's now become a Noche card. At the post-fight press conference, Dana White confirming that he is, in fact, promoting Canelo versus Crawford. So all the speculation last week turning Noche UFC to a fight night, which would lead to that there's some sort of reconciliation here, that it will be a pay-per-view, maybe not a Netflix, but a pay-per-view. Anyway, he confirmed that he is promoting it. Also, congratulations to the great Mark Kerr. It was announced that he will be going to the UFC Hall of Fame later this month, and obviously it's a big stretch for him, right? He's got his movie coming out, and finally getting into the UFC Hall of Fame. And they also announced that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, in a bit of synergy, if you will, Hollywood synergy, will be inducting Mark Kerr, his longtime good friend.
Look at that.
Yeah. It's
they only bring him out for the big ones, the BMF title, and now inducting Mark Kerr. Brilliant.
Yeah. Dana White at the press conference as we speak, giving Merab his flowers, giving Kayla and Amanda Nunes their flowers. And by the way, what a promo afterwards. Kayla Harrison channeling her inner Stone Cold Steve Austin, referencing John 3:16 and reciting the whole freaking verse. It was beautiful stuff. He was asked about John Jones. He said Tom Aspinall is the guy, and if Jones wants to retire and doesn't want to keep fighting, there's nothing he can do about it. He says he'll do everything he can to make the fight, but according to our friend Aaron Bronstetter, he did have a telling line which said, when he said, things don't always go the way that they have it planned. Is that a sign that his big guarantee, his big prediction that this fight would be made is now, not going to come to fruition? We'll have to see.
It's one of many signs. It's one of fucking many signs, Ariel. Come on. We've had a lot of signs at this stage, right? Yes, fuck's sake.
On Patchy Mix, he said, when fighters come from smaller shows and go to the UFC, some shine,
here we go,
and some have a rough time, and it's not easy.
Here we go.
He does have a good point with this one, no?
He has a fucking point there. What about Don picking a fight with the UFC there? That kind of says something, doesn't it too, Ariel?
You mean with the Ngannou stuff?
Yeah, let's fucking sort it out, lads. All right, Don,
he's having a week.
In fact, he was asked if he's interested. Dana White is interested in bringing back Francis, and he said he's not interested in bringing back Francis. By the way, Francis under contract for a very long time with PFL, so it's not like he could just waltz back in there. But in case we were wondering, Dana White saying he wasn't interested. By the way, there was a scary scene as Merab was coming out. Did you guys see the people fall over the barricade? And the poor cameraman looked like he got, or someone, the assistant got his leg caught underneath them. Second time this happens. Remember Mike Malott?
Yes, Mike Malott in Vancouver. I was thinking about that. God, same thing.
It happened at a Washington Commanders game too. They got to be careful with these fans leaning over the guardrails. But I don't know. Dana saying that no one got seriously hurt, I believe here. So that is great news.
I like how Merab's like walkouts always have this element of danger to them. Like he's either trying to punch somebody or something's caving in around him. It seems like there's always stuff going on.
It's amazing how he just like dodged it and he kept on going.
I know.
Do you ever see a man happier to walk to a cage in your life than Merab? No. Like he's practically salivating on his way down. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill this lad. It's crazy.
He's a special character. He really is, and he's a joy to watch. I enjoy everything about him and everything that he does online too. So happy for his success, guys. Before we round third here. Would be remiss if I don't mention Ben Askren. A lot of reports throughout the evening about a scary health situation that he's dealing with, and his wife has put out some stuff regarding him having a serious battle with pneumonia right now. There's talk of a staph infection and some other serious illnesses. All we know is that he's in the hospital, that he's battling, that it's a scary situation. And Chuck, I know you know him very well as well. We just want to wish our best to Ben and his entire family as he's going through this, and hope that he pulls through and hope that he's able to make a very speedy recovery, because the stuff that's being put out is a little concerning at the moment regarding Ben.
Yeah, I mean, and you hear false reports, online. I was seeing all kinds of stuff before. I think you're the one who finally kind of gave real information, but I'm glad that it seems like maybe he's turning that corner, and he's hopefully going to be okay, man. But yeah, one of the good guys in the game, spent a lot of time with him, putting together his book for him. And it's crazy because I didn't even have his wife's cell phone in my phone. I talked to her a lot, but it was always through Zoom when I was doing the story with him. So I was glad that you and others and herself were posting to kind of keep us updated, because that is a very worrisome situation over there.
Yeah. So wishing Ben the best. Just want to, and hopefully we'll have more and better information this week when we're doing our shows. Just want to quickly run through some super chats here. Shout out to Calvin, who says, if Merab wins against Sanhagen, don't you think he should move up to 145? He could fight simultaneously without holding the divisions up. No, man. Right, PT? He's too dominant.
Yeah. No, we want to see dominant champs here. This is, as you said, he's knocking on the door of all these records. It's fun to watch. He's incredibly dominant. To keep him there. He's not a big guy.
He's the rare guy who wants to be in his own division. Let him stay.
Yes. Will M. writes, LFG Merab, love this guy. Congrats to all the Georgians in the chat. LFG, thank you very much, Will. Simon98 writes, how many subscribers to get Chuck to wear the Stormtrooper helmet?
You name it.
4 more from right now.
Got to be more than 4, though.
No, yeah.
Yeah, come on, don't be fucking ridiculous.
Does that fit? Does that fit?
It does, but it's a tight fit. Yeah, it does.
It's a tight fit.
It's a legit helmet. Like my daughter got it for me, but it's and I don't even know where she got it.
I think we're at 287.
All right, I'll put it on. Yeah, there you
Perfect. Go. Also, shout out to Cosmo Kramer, who writes, congrats, PT Carroll, on the Kayla win.
Oh, yeah. That's it. I forgot all about that.
He's a little disappointed.
Fight, I'll tell you, I forgot all about it. It wasn't.
Yeah, no. Hey, by the way, shout out to you for being so professional. Not a single sort of like sly comment.
That's I'm above that kind of thing. Above that kind of thing. Yeah.
Much respect. Chuck, any final thoughts?
Man, that was a prop. I was going to mention Ben Askren, but I don't get a chance to talk to you. Are you even watching the NBA Finals?
You know what? I am.
I know you watched. I know you watched the game because you were talking about Indiana's medal at the end of these things. But are you watching it, or is this just like one of those things you kind of tune in?
I said that I wouldn't. But I'm a sucker for the history. I'm a sucker for the pageantry, and also my kids are super into it, and so I don't want to be. I don't want to teach them to be bitter. And so they like SGA, Canadian. They don't have the same vitriol for Indiana. They don't like Indiana, but it's not the same as what I possess. Lou Dort, Montreal. The fact that there are 4 Canadians and 4 very valuable Canadians playing in this final, 2 from my hometown of Montreal, is super, super rare. And I don't subscribe to this small market bullshit. Like, these are 2 really entertaining, my bias aside, 2 really entertaining teams going toe to toe.
I agree.
And game 1 was phenomenal. I'm the 1 millionth person to bring this up, but I wish they would go back to putting the logo NBA Finals.
Oh man,
sprucing it up a little bit, because it does feel like a regular season game, especially when the in-season tournament has decals all over the gaff, if you will, and they change the color. But all in all, I am watching. I'm just a hoops head, Chuck. I just love the game.
Same here, but I do kind of hate watch it as well, because
of course.
And there's this part of me that's just like, man, you want OKC. Like, I kind of wanted them just to steamroll everybody else so that you could be like, yeah, well, the Nuggets, they took them 7 games, That's how good they are, It's like you start thinking in these ways. It's just so stupid. But I will say that it is I did tune in for it, and the love of basketball does eventually take over. You start to appreciate it. I'm sure you couldn't stand Halliburton as you're playing, but then you just watch him without that kind of interest. And you just see the magic of things. Just like when I'm watching SGA or you're watching Dort hit those shots, I'm like, you see them different when you're not competing with them, So it's been a lot of fun.
It's hard not to respect what they're doing.
Yeah.
By the way, as we're speaking right now, Dana White still holding court. And here's a quote regarding Jones and Aspinall. John Jones agreed to do the fight. John Jones was offered the deal and accepted the deal. So,
wait,
that's the fucking quote. That's the quote.
That's the quote. Now,
where's the rest of the quote?
Fuck is that?
By the way, thank you, Francis.
Thank you, Frank.
By the way,
that was brilliant.
By the way, this is exactly what I reported. He said yes, and then he had a change of heart. So
yeah, that's true.
Is he stopping short, or does he have a new?
You see, that's the problem. We're missing the rest of the quote. He just fucking said we offered him the thing. He took it.
When did you offer it? And
what the fuck is happening now? He's sniffing a lad's hair on the back of a motorbike in Thailand. What the fuck is going on?
It's way too late to get into this now, but John Jones is making a mockery. He's making a mockery of the UFC in the title with the tweets, and they need to act fast. Hopefully they do by the next time we see them put on a pay-per-view. International Fight Week has been discussed as a sort of like deadline, and when they may announce Aspinall's fight, who the hell knows? But we're long past the expiration point here, in my opinion.
I feel like everyone knows apart from the UFC at this stage. Like Tom seems to know what the crack is. Like everyone,
guys, don't let this hijack what we witnessed tonight. All right, plenty of time to do all of this John Jones stuff. Let us celebrate the brilliance of one Merab Dvalishvili and Kayla Harrison. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to all the big winners. We have a new champion in the women's bantamweight division, and all of a sudden, business has picked up at 135 pounds. It was a great night. And by the way, if you're a fan of grappling, you saw a Kimura and a north-south choke.
That's
in
true.
the main and co-main. So look at that. Look at that.
And you saw 2 ready contenders. 2 ready contenders right there, cage side. Everything's perfectly made.
How lucky are we? How lucky
Shout
are
out
we?
to all the north-south heads out there. Woo.
Guys, love doing the show with you. It's nice. Shout out to TST, wherever you may be. We love you too, bud. And shout out to all our fans and everyone watching.
All our fans? Who are we, the fucking Rolling Stones? What are you talking about?
I don't know why I said that. I don't know why.
Peace and love.
It's too late for this shit.
Oh my God.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Back in the control room at the HQ. We'll talk to you on Monday. Appreciate you watching and listening. Good night to our fans. We love you.
Oh, man.